You've probably clicked on this video not even knowing what a trolley park is. For those of you who do, hold on a second. Trolley parks were common in the early 1900s and were used as a way to promote trolley lines by providing various entertainment options for their visitors. By 1919, there were over 2,000 trolley parks. Now, there are only 15 still in operation. Many of these trolley parks saw their decline in the late 1920s, mainly due to the advancement of automobiles, rendering trolley lines less convenient for Americans. Oaks Park is one of those 15 trolley parks still operating to this day and has defied the odds in more ways than one. For instance, the Pacific Northwest is notoriously difficult for theme parks to thrive, seeing closures like the Jantzen Beach Amusement Park in 1970. In the entirety of the Pacific Northwest, including Oaks Park, there are really only 4 notable amusement parks. Of all of these, Oaks Park is the third largest with 44 acres of land. What exactly has kept this park running for over 100 years? Let's find out.
So we were actually started by the Oregon Water Power Commission because they own the trolley lines, and the park was created as a weekend ridership boost. So a way to get people to ride the new trolley lines in the early 1900s on the weekends instead of just taking them to work during the week. The Northwest is a challenging place. Our weather here is just, our biggest deterrent for a lot of people. But Oaks Park has been extremely fortunate with a very loyal fan base. We're kind of anomalous in that we are in the middle of a major metropolis. The city grew up around us because we're so old. So not only is it a nice place to go visit, but it really is in the beating center of the city. So people have generational connection with Oaks Park. Their great-grandparents, now some of our kids, their great-great-grandparents came here and shared experiences of school parties and birthday parties and first dates and all of those things, and it really connects the generations together in a special way. We have a couple of truly unique features aside from our age, which is a big point. One of those we're standing in now. Our roller skating rink is the largest west of the Mississippi and really considered one of the premier roller skating establishments in the world. We are the last in the world to have a live pipe organ played during our sessions, so it's the only place you can experience that. There were multiple rides that were here. Some very famous early ones was an early one. We had a very early version of the swing ride and very popular. It was only here, we think, based on photographic evidence, till maybe the mid-1920s, was Shoot the Chutes that actually used water from Oaks Bottom to operate. Our oldest ride operating at the park is our 1912 Herschel Spillman Carousel. It is a hand-carved menagerie carousel, so a broad variety of animals. That started at a different park back east and came here, we think, right around 1920 and has been operating and really the heartbeat of our Midway ever since. A couple of other very old rides that we have. The Rockoplane is a vintage ride. The Scrambler is a vintage ride. Other vintage features around here. All of the buildings that you see are actually original from 1905, all up and down the Midway. So lots of old history to see here. has many attractions and many rides and things. Some of the historic features, though, that you don't really see at very many parks anymore. It had a menagerie, it had exotic animals, it had a vaudevillian stage that was a lot of fun, it had dance halls, and it's been interesting to look back at the history of how kind of the amenities evolved based on whatever was the in-fashion thing at the time, and it's a great space. It just continues to do that. Okay, something about Oaks Park most people don't know about, surprisingly, is that we are a nonprofit historic space that was founded in 1985, and how that came to be. The family that bought the business from the original owners were the Bollinger family, and Bob Bollinger loved the place very much. He saw value in it for the community and donated the business lock, stock, and barrel to a nonprofit. During the height of the season, we have between 350 and 400 employees. We have about 80 to 120 year-round staff. And then we really focus on reaching out to youth population in the area. We're one of the biggest youth employers in the city, and certainly in Southeast Portland, Sellwood neighborhood. So a lot with high school and college age people. Each department has a director and then managers and supervisors who oversee staff. Something kind of unique about Oaks Park is we have a very low turnover. So your leadership team of managers and directors, like the new guy has been here 10 years. So a real wealth of experience and working with lots of different kinds of people, which is beneficial to our people who come and work here, that they're gonna have people who are in the industry and committed to staying at Oaks Park for a very long time.
In order to ensure smooth operations, Oaks Park is run by several full-time staff who each play a different role in keeping the park running as well as possible. One of these is the ride supervisor, who manages and trains all of the ride operators at the park. Ride operators are responsible for one of the first and arguably most important steps in regard to guest safety.
I got started here when I was 18 years old, fresh out of high school. Found the job posting here to work during the summer, kind of just applied and see how it would go. And then I fell in love with the work culture. The people you kind of get to meet every day is really different. No day is the same. The work culture itself, it's really exciting, and it's almost like family wholesome. And then the team that I work with is really amazing. We usually prioritize safety over throughput, just because we don't ever want to lose our safety aspect of just trying to rush and get people in and out of the ride. We prefer to take our time and make sure that everyone's being safe. They usually hold a conference every year. Company's called IRT, stands for International Ride Training. They have a giant clientele basis. Normally it includes Knott's Berry Farm, Cedar Fair Company, and they hold this conference for all these theme parks and the ride operators and their management teams. And what it basically is that we just gather around, we network with each other, we talk about how our parks are normally run, and then we kind of just feed off each other and give each other feedback on like what works for them, what doesn't work for us, how can we create new ideas, whether it's staffing, ride operations, things of that nature, the work culture, how we can improve as a park ourselves. There's a couple other small parks that go there. I believe there was a couple funplexes that are just like that usually pop up everywhere. They're now like included, and they go like every year. So we're not the only small park there is, but there is a couple that show up. Operating the ride like atmosphere, the way you would start out your day is once you get to the ride, you just take a quick walk around the perimeter fencing, you make sure everything's intact. You go through our inspection sheet, so you would have to go through our checklist and make sure everything is working properly. There's no damage anywhere, no parts left over from maintenance from their morning inspection. So you have a checklist that you really go through before you operate the ride, and then after you get through every single step in that checklist is when you would run a test run with no customers, no guests on it, make sure everything is functioning properly before you can actually get started for the day. This is the atmosphere control booth. This is our control panel. We do have a small computer screen up front. This is where you can kind of see what seats are open, what seats are closed and locked. We have our start cycle buttons. We have our platform switch that controls the opening and closing of the platform. We have our restraint switch, which closes and opens our restraint systems. Normally we would have two queue lines just because for the atmosphere we have two modes. We have a 180 mode and a 360 mode. It varies on the height. To ride the 180 you have to be at least 48 inches tall, and then to ride the 360 you have to be 52 inches tall. So once you pretty much have all your guests in the seats and ready to go, and restraints are all down. The green light, these green lights here, the one that says restraints closed, once it's lit up solid green, that means that all the restraints are closed and completely latched properly. The platform close light, you want to make sure that it's solid green and lit up. That's just telling you that the platform itself is completely closed and you can get ready to start the ride. You would hit your horn button to signal to the guests that the ride's about to start, and to make sure that none of your coworkers or other operators are inside the ride vicinity. And then you would just push and hold down both start cycle buttons until it starts swinging. The screen itself, it'll tell you that there's an error, a fault code, and it'll pop up on the screen. Also, this red button here, the fault reset, it'll start blinking at you. It'll also start beeping. There's a safety mechanism that starts beeping pretty loud. It lets you know that something's wrong. Then you would just hit the stop button. You just hit that once. The ride will come down on its own until it starts slowing down and lines itself back up at the platform. Normally, if it doesn't stop on its own and it just goes into just a free swing, we have an emergency brake switch that allows us to flip it on and just slowly bring it to a stop on its own. And then we just get on our radio, call our maintenance team over. If we can safely let the guests out and our restraint system opens up, then we can just let them out before maintenance gets here. And then if we can't get them out and our restraint system have them locked in place, then we just have to emergency evacuate them and go underneath the ride, and with a special tool, we'll be able to manually open up the restraints so not having to use the controls. The most common question we really get asked normally, which is kind of funny, is usually where the restroom is, just because they're kind of hidden throughout our park. And what's our favorite ride is a real common question when we're asked. My favorite ride would be the Atmosphere.
Ride operators are not the only staff members here that work to ensure the safety of guests. This is also the job of the maintenance team. On average, it takes about 5 years for a maintenance worker to be considered trained. This is because there are so many different moving parts to each ride, and every last one of them needs to be checked on a frequent basis. The maintenance procedures present at Oaks Park are designed to be as thorough as possible to keep rides running in top shape.
Preventative maintenance is super important around here. It helps save us from a lot of work in the long run, because if you wait till something breaks, it's a lot more work than if you did it ahead of time. It's very important for safety, because if a safety mechanism fails, that can be a huge dangerous for the customers, for the employees, for the mechanics, anybody. And making sure that those things are kept up on every day is super important for the functionality and the safety of the customer, because that's safety is the most important thing always. We have the daily inspections. Every day the ride is inspected, because you never know what could happen the day before. Every ride has got built-in redundancies of safety over safety over safety. A lot of interlocks, things won't work if something's not set right. If a lap bar doesn't go down the right way, the ride won't run. Something I find is pretty interesting for safety is like a lot of things, like if the power goes out, things will naturally close or open to the safest position. Oregon has adopted the ASTM standards, which is Standards of Materials and Testing. That's what it is. We follow all of their standards are set into law in Oregon, so we have to follow all of those standards legally. It's not the same in every state, but yeah, there's a big section of ASTM standards that's specifically for amusement rides. It originally started for steel standards, so that way all steel's the same strength, things like that, and it's been incorporated into an amusement ride standard, so that way everything is on par with everything else, and it's just kind of the laws of how you should check things, what you should check, when you should check them, all of that kind of stuff. So the ASTM standards is what we've adopted for the legality of it all. So our day starts at 5 in the morning. Our inspectors show up, they come in and run our daily inspections. Every ride's inspected 3 times every day. They're looking for loose seat belts, making sure everything's functioning properly, all the safety restraints, everything's in order. And they run from about 5 till 11:30 or so, because we open at noon, so they have to be done by then. Mechanics, we show up at 6, kind of give the inspectors a head start on the day. Anything that they might find, they bring it to us. We've got a database in the office that shows us anything from the day before that's left over that hasn't been addressed, anything they find in the morning that needs addressed, and we get that all taken care of, before we open, obviously. Any of the bigger projects, it's really nice here because we're only open for the weekends until summer, so we have like a full 5 days of being closed to help address any big projects or issues that might come up. And then, once we're open, we have a mechanic on shift who's on call in case there's anything happens. You know, if in case something breaks, a ride goes down, starts acting funny, a lot of times it's real simple, something, lever somewhere, or just turn the ride off, turn it back on kind of deal. Or, you know, sometimes it's a little more serious. Sometimes, you know, power goes out, we need evacuations done. So we always have somebody on site throughout the evening for all that kind of stuff. Some of the rides around here that require some of the most TLC, I would say we've got the Spider and the Scrambler. And the reason why I say that is because their daily inspections are a little more extensive. There's a lot of daily lubrication that goes on with those rides, just because they're kind of older, a lot of moving parts in them. You know, the daily lubrication is kind of a lot of other rides only require a weekly lubrication, where these are pretty extensive with the daily. It takes, 45 minutes to an hour just to run the daily inspection with the lube, where other rides might take half an hour. This ride in particular is international, and being international makes it a little bit of a headache to get parts sometimes. You know, coming out of COVID, that made it really hard for international shipments too, on parts a lot. But I mean, typically you just put in, you have to figure out what part you need, obviously, and then just put in an order for it from Gerstlauer, and they send it over. And typically, if we need it really bad, it's more expensive, and if we can kind of wait, then it's not so bad. We try to have a lot of parts, especially parts that go bad often, back up on the shelf. So it's just a simple matter of coming out to switch it out and then order it, and kind of whenever it comes is when we get it. The wheels on the coaster, those need changed out. We just did a whole set on these last season, so they're good. It's just kind of as they wear out, we have to change them. We have these tires, the stop and go tires in each station. The one coming off the brake has to get changed quite a bit because it takes a lot of the force of the skid plate coming off. That gets worn out pretty fast. Yeah, and we just replaced the fins underneath. Those are the brake fins. Not only are they the brake fins to catch the brake physically, but they're what the sensors read for the magnetic sensors for metal, so they know where the car's at and all that. One of the things I enjoy most for routine maintenance on these is getting to go up and lube the bearings and all that, the pillow block bearings up on top of the lift, because it's 70 feet up, and when you're up there it likes to sway around a little bit. You get a great view from up there. A lot of times I'll just get up there and do my lubing, and I'll just kind of take an extra couple minutes, and we've got a great view of the river from here, so that's really nice. And the atmosphere is another one. This one's a weekly, but that one's a daily, so you get to go up there every day and just be up high, and it's nice because you get to overcome your fear of heights and just the great view. And that's at least where I take a good moment every day to remember, I guess. It's always something that I've been interested in. I've always been mechanically inclined. I was the kid always taking stuff apart and putting it together. Mom's always like, what's going on with all my stuff? And so I joined Funtastic when I was 18, and I traveled with them for like a year, which was pretty fun. But it was always being gone. You're always traveling, so I wanted something more like an at-home job. Looking for tickets online to bring my boys down here one day, and I seen they were hiring, and I applied, and they brought me in, which has been a very blessed moment in my life. I couldn't be more excited that I work here. It's quite a dream.
As small as it is, Oaks Park is packed with history and strives to maintain the charm held within its borders. It's easy, especially as a coaster enthusiast, to brush off small parks like this as insignificant and not worth your time, until you really dive in deep and look at what these regional amusement parks provide for their local communities. Oaks Park has been around for more than 100 years, and with continued local support, can stay around for the next 100 years. If you haven't been here and you live locally, make sure to stop by. Just like any other amusement park, Oaks Park can make you forget about everything else going on in the world, and it's due to the hard work and dedication put on by the staff here. This is a great place to form lifelong memories and continues to do so for its patrons year after year. Whether you come for the largest roller rink west of the Mississippi or for the variety of rides and attractions, there's something here for just about everyone. If you do happen to stop by, make sure to thank the staff for all of the time and effort they put in to ensure you have a great experience here. If it weren't for them, Oaks Park would possibly be another one of the many amusement parks that rose and fell here in the Pacific Northwest. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, feel free to leave a like and comment below, and consider subscribing. I intend on uploading more content as time goes on and as Katie and I experience more parks and coasters. You can also find daily uploads on our Instagram page at Coaster Mania. Soon we'll be opening an Etsy page where you'll be able to buy prints and more of some of your favorite coaster photography of ours. Thanks for watching the video, and ride on, Coaster Maniacs!